The marriage licensing name is Margaret Walsh, and it's 69 years old. I thought I knew everything about the man I'd spent 42 years married to. I was wrong. It started on a quiet Tuesday morning in October. I was sorting through old tax documents in Robert's home office. He'd asked me to find out 2015 returns when I noticed a locked drawer I'd never paid much attention to before. The key was taped underneath, of all places. Typical Robert, hiding things in plain sight. Inside, I found photographs. Not the kind you'd expect. These showed Robert, maybe 20 years younger, standing with a woman I'd never seen before. They were holding a baby. On the back, in his handwriting, Sarah and little Michael, 1998. My hands started trembling. 1998. We were already married then. We'd been married since 1982. I sat there for what felt like hours, though it was probably only 20 minutes. My mind raced through possibilities, excuses, explanations, but deep down, I knew something was terribly wrong. That's when I made the decision that would change everything. I called Davidson and Associates, a private investigation firm downtown. I told the receptionist I needed peace of mind. She understood immediately. She'd heard this story before. I could tell from her gentle voice. The investigator's name was Thomas Chen. He was younger than I expected, maybe 45, with kind eyes that reminded me of my father. We met at a coffee shop near the park, Mrs. Walsh, he said quietly, sliding a folder across the table 3 weeks later. I found what you were looking for, but I need to prepare you. This isn't going to be easy to hear. I nodded, gripping my coffee cup so tightly my knuckles turned white. Your husband, Robert Walsh, has another family in Pennsylvania, a woman named Sarah Bennett. They were married in 1998. They have a son, Michael, who's now 26. And Mrs. Walsh. He paused, looking genuinely pained. There's more. He has another marriage license from 2003 in Ohio, a woman named Jennifer Morrison. No children from that union, as far as I can determine. The coffee shop seemed to tilt sideways. Thomas reached across the table, steadying my hand. How? I whispered. How is that even possible? Your husband is a commercial airline pilot. He's away for days, sometimes weeks at a time. Different cities, different lives. It's rare, but it happens. I thought about all those years. All those trips. Boston, Philadelphia, Cleveland. He'd come home with gifts, with stories about delays and difficult passengers. He'd hold me and tell me he missed me, and I believed every word. Mrs. Walsh, Thomas said gently, I need to tell you something else. The reason he could afford to maintain 3 households. He slid a bank statement toward me. Look at the deposits, my name, my inheritance from my parents. My father had been a successful surgeon, and when he passed in 1997, he left me a substantial sum. Robert had convinced me to put it in a joint account for our future. Over the years, he'd been systematically transferring money to accounts I never knew existed. Ma'am, Thomas said, and I noticed he'd started calling me ma'am instead of Mrs. Walsh, as though he couldn't bear to use Robert's name anymore. You just became very rich, because everything he's done is fraud. Bigamy, financial exploitation. Your lawyer is going to have a field day with this. I looked at him, this kind detective who'd uncovered my husband's betrayal, and something broke inside me. Not my heart, exactly. That would come later. This was different. This was rage. But I didn't cry. Not then. Instead, I smiled. Thank you, Thomas. You've given me the truth. Now I need to figure out what to do with it. I went home and sat in our living room, the one with the photographs of our wedding, our anniversaries, our life together. All of it a lie. Or was it? The moments had been real to me. Even if Robert had been living them in triplicate, I didn't confront him that night, or the next. I waited until I'd spoken to 3 different lawyers, until I'd secured my finances, until I'd made copies of everything Thomas had given me. When I finally told Robert, he was packing for another trip. Philadelphia, he'd said, to see Sarah. I now knew. I hired a private investigator, I said calmly, standing in the doorway of our bedroom. He froze, a shirt halfway into his suitcase. I know about Sarah, about Michael, about Jennifer, about the money. Robert's face went through several expressions: shock, fear, calculation, and finally, something like relief. He sat down heavily on the bed. Margaret, he started, but I held up my hand. I don't want excuses. I don't want explanations. I want you to understand what's going to happen next. You're going to lose everything. The lawyers tell me that what you've done is criminal. Bigamy in multiple states. Financial fraud. I could have you arrested right now. Please, he began. I'm not finished. I'm not going to have you arrested. Do you know why? Because I'm going to take something more valuable than your freedom. I'm going to take your money, your reputation, and your future. Every penny you stole from me, plus damages. The house, the pension, everything. And then I'm going to make sure Sarah and Jennifer know about each other. Let you explain to all of us how you managed to love 3 women at once. The divorce took 8 months. In that time, I did something unexpected. I reached out to Sarah and Jennifer. We met at a restaurant in Chicago, neutral territory for all of us. 3 women who'd loved the same man, who'd been betrayed by him in identical ways. We were awkward at first, circling each other like wounded animals, but then Sarah said something that broke the ice. He gave me a necklace for our 10th anniversary. A little gold heart. Jennifer gasped. He gave me the same one. I reached for the chain around my neck and pulled out an identical pendant. We stared at each other, and then Sarah started laughing. Deep, genuine laughter that was probably part hysteria. Jennifer joined in, and then so did I. We laughed until we cried, until the other restaurant patrons stared at us, until the waiter asked if we were okay. We're fine, I told him, wiping my eyes. We're actually going to be just fine, and we were. Sarah filed for divorce in Pennsylvania. Jennifer did the same in Ohio. We coordinated our legal strategies, shared information, became something like friends. The detective Thomas was right. I did become very rich. The courts awarded me substantial damages. But more than that, I became free. I am 70 now. I live in a small house by the ocean. The one I bought with my settlement money. Sometimes Sarah visits, bringing her son Michael, who's a kind young man despite everything. Jennifer sends cards at Christmas. Robert lives alone in a small apartment in Florida. He lost his pilot's license. Turns out the FAA frowns on bigamists. He works part-time at a hardware store. Sometimes people ask me if I'm bitter. I tell them no, and I mean it, because Robert gave me something valuable in the end. He showed me that I was stronger than I ever knew, that at 69, I could start completely over. The truth, however painful, is always better than a beautiful lie. And every morning, when I watch the sun rise over the ocean, I think about that moment in the coffee shop when Thomas told me I'd just become very rich. He meant the money, of course, but he was right in ways he never imagined.